Welcome to Made in Science, the official podcast of the University of Stuttgart. Today, we will be looking at innovation at the university level and also beyond. Innovation is about creating something new. The term itself derived from the Latin verb innovare, which means to renew. Innovation refers to creation, improvement, or replacement of a process or product or even service for that matter. This year, the University of Stuttgart has founded a transfer center, and today I want to talk with its director, Dr. Rubina Zern-Breuer. She studied modern and contemporary history, technology history, as well as sociology at the University of Karlsruhe. In 2014, she completed her PhD in stereotype research at the University of Würzburg. Next, she worked at the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology and at the University of Heidelberg as a research associate and coordinator. From 2015 to 2017, she was research associate at the Fraunhofer Institute for Systems and Innovation Research, ISI, in Karlsruhe, where she worked on innovation research and strategic foresight. Between 2018 and 2022, she worked as scientific project coordinator at the German University of Administrative Sciences in Speyer. And in 2023, Dr. Zern-Breuer became head of the newly established Transfer Center at the University of Stuttgart. A very warm welcome to you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We heard that you've worked on stereotypes, and actually, there may be quite a few of stereotypes in your field of work too, such as assumptions about entrepreneurship, transfer, innovation, all these buzzwords, as I would call them. I want to start with the latter. What is your take on innovation? How do you define it?
That's a good question for the start. So, Schumpeter would say innovation is to destroy something old to create something new. So, a kind of creative destruction. If you define it the usual way, you would say it's an idea or an invention that prevails on the market. But I would say it's also more, because innovation is also to solve something, to find a solution for something. And you could take this solution to create something or to tackle a challenge, for example.
That challenge refers to society, I guess, and also to industry, but also to administration, a field that you have also worked with and in. How do you combine science, society, the various players in industry and administration? Or in your field, do you address them separately?
Yes, yes and no. So my approach is to create a kind of network and make them to collaborate. The idea is if we all work together in a kind of network, no matter if it's public administration, industry, or science, we can establish more sustainable solutions than if we did it alone. So what I do is I approach them alone and I try to create trust. Maybe we'll get to that later. But I also try to bring them together, put them together at a table and try to find solutions for society or other fields.
A moment ago, you mentioned the aspect of collaboration. Do you think the various players involved have understood the importance of collaboration in our times?
Depending on what kind of level you look at, I would say not entirely. I think there's more. There are more forces, there are more strengths needed to build up a network and to build up an understanding of what it means to work together. And actually, there are different studies, there are many studies that show that it's really a good thing for innovation to work together very closely and to tackle together problems. But it's not always that easy to convince people and to convince different kinds of organizations. But I think it's getting better, and I think organizations understand more why it's preferable or why they do benefit if they work together.
Let's take an example. In practical terms, how is the university disposed toward innovation? Is the university still an ivory tower, as it is sometimes called or was called in the past? Should it be called an ivory tower at all? How is this aspect of collaboration perceived and realized in reality?
I would disagree. I don't think we're an ivory tower anymore. We're on a good way. Well, first of all, there's to say that the university has really made some efforts, not only during the last years, but I think during the last decade or even more, to establish kind of transfer. And now you can also see that in our transfer strategy that is entrepreneurship based. So this is a very important part of innovation and transfer. I think the university has also built up great networks, but they are not that visible right now because institutes have great connections, for example, to industry and other actors in our environment. But it's our task, or it will be our task, to make this kind of network visible and to make them work together more closely. But it's not that we start from zero or from scratch. I think there has been done lots of work, and we're now building on that.
If that is the picture within, let's also look beyond. Since university, society, economy, and administration also have close ties, in which one of these four do you see a forerunner, if at all? Which one is reaching out to the others best? Which sector has understood the urge for collaboration, also for transfer of knowledge that you have already the best experience with?
Yeah, that's not easy to decide, but maybe surprisingly, I would say that administration, public administration, is not maybe is underrated. Let's put it like that. There are really a few players on the field that really try to bring on innovation. I know we always think of public administration as incapable of, understanding or putting innovation, digitalization into practice. But the truth is, if we look at different levels, public innovation is also a partner for funding, so we're quite dependent on that as well. And they are also really putting some strength into bringing forward innovation in their kind of level. I know quite a few administrations also at country level that really are willing to go on, but it's as it is a hierarchical system, it's not that easy. I think mostly at the local level, you can see the efforts because this is quite close to the people and to society. But I would say, in a network, public administration is needed as an innovator.
You have worked, you have studied at many different institutions and universities. From those, what would you say? What would you bring? What do you bring to the University of Stuttgart? In other words, lessons learned that you can apply, and certainly some that you will not apply here.
So what I have learned, I think, is how to collaborate in a network, what we just talked about. Co-creation and collaboration are important parts of my work. And I've learned that it's really the best solutions come if you put different actors at a table. And I also learned that you have to establish trust. You have to give trust to other actors before you can start a good collaboration. So that is also one of my tasks, I think, here, to build up a network of trust, which is necessary before you can do anything else. That is my opinion on that. I think I also bring along a context and understanding of how innovation ecosystems work generally, and that they are quite sensitive to some developments or for example, I would never mention to someone in public administration again the word we're innovation. So we're building up here kind of innovation, and you're part of it. That's what I did in the beginning when I built up this innovation lab at the University of Speyer, and I could see the guy I talked to, he was from Bundeskanzleramt, really getting red and saying, "Oh no, you can't say that here. We don't want innovation. We have seen all kinds of approaches during the last 25 years." And so I would try to explain more, to communicate well, to make them understand what it's all about that we're trying to establish, right? So innovation is maybe a buzzword that is sometimes maybe too much.
If we take the education of our students in 2023 and upcoming, perhaps we need to reform some of the teaching patterns and contents, perhaps also because the students today are very different from, say, even 10 years ago. Recently, Professor Ressel and I went to the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor and visited the Department of Robotics. On the first day of the semester, we met first-year students, each carrying a box with a drone in it. The task being to improve the drone. They were given that particular box on the first day, and here you go, and you improve it, you change it, you modify, you work in teams that you choose, or you work individually, doesn't matter, but bring it forward. The students were trusted. You have mentioned the word just recently. The idea was to signal that studying doesn't mean doing everything from scratch again, but work with what is available already. And my understanding there was that also the education content very much is being changed and adjusted on that level. So we need to meet students where they are now and then develop from there on. Is there something that fits into your work as well?
Yeah, that's a great example to mention. I think with actions like that, you can ignite curiosity. And it's something that is also very important for our transfer center, because we also have the career service under our roof. So, of course, we are trying to accompany the students during their lifetime at the university. I know some good examples how it already works. For example, this is not what I have done, but a very great colleague of mine, Alexander Brehm, who leads the INI, the Institute for Entrepreneurship and Innovation Research. And the INI has established a program called Awake, and it's open for all students. They are creating kind of idea for startup. It's called from idea to startup, and they are coached by different kinds of experts. At the end, they are doing a pitch in front of a audience, and there's also an expert jury who will decide who's best and who wins a kind of prize. And I was really, really happy when I saw this at the first time. And I thought this is really a nice approach for our university because, maybe this I forgot to mention, it's not about the students from one discipline. It will students from 20 disciplines there. And they, had to really collaborate and get to know each other, understand how the other one thinks, so build up trust and a kind of relation, and together eventually to create a startup. And sometimes it really worked, and they really continued, and we saw them again, or our coaches at the transfer center saw them again when they had some kind of meeting for business modeling or so on.
That's the one end of the education. How do you bring the enterprises now to the university or into this picture and also into the collaboration?
Yeah, this is something we're trying to establish in our field of business relations. So business relations is supposed to be the entry point for collaborators or for actors from the outside, and we want to bring them together, so companies, but also other players, together with scientists from our university, and trying to establish scientific cooperations. For this, we have to establish a network at the inside, but also on the outside. And we have to create, of course, visibility. We're trying to establish events. And this is not easy because there are, as I mentioned, established cooperations already between institutions or institutes at the University of Stuttgart and companies. And now we're trying to centralize more, which doesn't mean that everyone has to cooperate via the transfer center. But we're trying to build up a kind of network that is good for everyone.
By profession, you are a historian.
Yes.
And you also wrote your doctoral thesis in the field of contemporary history. How does that background go together with your current field of work?
I think it goes together quite well, because I think that the skills that you learn when you study something like history is in general analysis, interpretation, and knowing something about the context. So I would even say at the level of the humanities, you learn to understand something about you and how you resonate with other ones, and you learn something about the pathways that have led to the point where we are right now. And this is very useful if you take a look at the context within, be it innovation systems or others, and also think about what could be, the influencing factors for the future. So I think this is something that actually prepares you quite well.
And perhaps even one step further back, what was the defining moment for you when you realized that you want to work in a field which focuses on innovation, or I shouldn't say innovation anymore, should I say transfer?
Innovation is fine, I think. It's slightly different, but both terms are true for my work. So, I think the decisive moment was at Fraunhofer, actually. So at Fraunhofer, I was lucky to work with methods like foresight, which I hadn't known before, and also to get to know a project that I was eventually part of, and this dealt with real-world labs. And the part of it is always kind of to reach kind of sustainability between different actors. So in this case, society and science. And I find it quite amazing how something from a bottom-up approach can work that well. So the idea is to bring together different actors at a local level and to find solutions to work together over a certain period of time. and also to make the people, bring on their own ideas. This is so the knowledge transfer is recursive, right? And this was something I found very convincing, and I started to learn more and read more about it. And so that was for me the moment when I thought, wow, I would like to work more in this kind of field.
And you may even have a very specific example in addition. In 2022, you spent 3 months at the Thomas Mann-Haus in Los Angeles. Now, the Thomas Mann-Haus is a place for transatlantic debate, where outstanding personalities and thought leaders exchange ideas with each other and with the host country, the United States, on a very fundamental political, social, cultural topic and issues of the present and the future. How was this fostered when you got into the Thomas Mann-Haus? What could you do there with your background and the way of thinking that you have just outlined?
So it was actually a quite amazing time there, and I think my background helped because I learned how to analyze these kind of collaborational networks, and how innovation can be established at public administrations, but also how the work with society functions. So together with my good friend and former colleague Svenja Tremba, we were trying to analyze the trust networks, in this case in Los Angeles, because of course Thomas Mann-Haus is situated there. And we conducted many interviews with people who were active in civil society, but also in public administration and third-party funding organizations. And it was quite amazing to talk to them. Also very insightful. If you compare the two states, of course, they're very different. The states, how are they politically organized, are very different. But there's something we really can learn from each other, I think. So it was a really great time for me.
Is there any way that you can bring this idea, this energy that I just heard, basically, in your response, also to projects here outside of the university?
Yes, I think so, because the bottom line of our of what we learned was that if you want to build up trust networks, it should be you who steps in first. You can't just wait and see if the other one moves. You should step in first. In our project in Los Angeles, it was on a higher level. So we found out at the state level that at the state level the trust is decreasing a lot. This is not surprising, but it was worse than we thought, and so our hope was that the local level could step in for this and could establish different kinds of collaborations that really work, and they did. It was really amazing to see what the local level could establish in Los Angeles and the different neighborhoods, and how closely people work together in their communities. And I think if you put this into practice in our Stuttgart innovation ecosystem, I think a good idea would be to build up communities of practice, for example, that you combine different actors that are interested in the same topic and bring them together from time to time and establish kind of a working mode with them. So this is just one idea, I think, that can be transferred.
If we take it on a larger scale, the university has a lot of international partners, partner institutions, partner universities. How can they actually collaborate even more, if sufficiently, even more goal-oriented as they do already in this network system that you described?
So you mean how we could establish international networks?
Even better than even better, and that they are perhaps even more stable sometimes as well. Sometimes a player in the network leaves a university, and then that takes a while to come back, if at all, to the works. Any recommendation on that?
Well, I think honestly, we should start and try to think about how we can be, as a university, attractive in general. So, of course, also for international guests and collaborations, this is very important as well. But my worry is that we're not fast enough to act on this and to still be an attractive university, because you mentioned the students that are different now than they were 10 years ago. And I would agree. And I would say, yes, they are in a different mode right now, because these are the students from Fridays for Future, are the pupils that now become students. And if we want to make them good offers, we should ask ourselves what kind of profile we want to show outside. And we all know that there is a transformation going on, and this is quite visible here in Stuttgart with the automotive sector, for example. And I would say this is also an opportunity for us to show what we can do, and there are good examples. But I think we should really thrive more for this kind of profile that shows the students from today, or the interested people from today, what we want to, that we have understood what kind of challenges there are, and how we can tackle them. At least we can try. And this also goes for the international context. I think if we want to be competitive in an international context, I think it would be a good idea if we also show this kind of profile. Because if you look at international universities, you mentioned the States, they've understood, they really changed, or they adapted, let's say, their profile in that way, and they're very aware of how they can integrate these kind of topics in their disciplines. So this is something, I don't say it's lacking at all, but we should also adapt this to our profile, if I may say this.
How close is that topic to your schedule of work, or in the next years? After all, the transfer center has just been established, but is that one of the columns that this stands on, relies on as well?
I would say it's something that you can escape, and that you should care for if you build up an organization like the transfer center. It's visible, for example, in the field of startups. We see more and more people caring for an impact. It's not about making big money anymore. It's more about how can we create an impact if we fund that startup. And interestingly, it's more and more women who want to join if we advertise our events with "come and make an impact." So I think this is also a great opportunity to combine things and to, for example, get more women into that startup scene that is quite homogeneous right now. So yeah, there are lots of topics I think we have to integrate in that kind of work.
Coming to the end of our conversation, we have a very special section called Moment 7. collected 7 questions that we would like to ask you, and please answer as shortly as possible.
Okay, I try my best.
Moment 1. Spätzle or Maultaschen?
Spätzle.
Moment 2. One thing you could change about the world.
There are so many things, but okay, if I could change one thing, I would strive for gender equality.
Moment 3. Do you have a media recommendation for us? A book, a movie that you have seen, a music that you enjoyed?
Yeah, what I read recently is Annie Ernaux, a woman. And it's a quite personal thing. I enjoyed reading it. Annie Ernaux is a quite great writer, and I can recommend actually all her books.
Moment 4. The best advice that you have ever received was?
Yeah, that was my mentor for my doctoral thesis, and he said, or you have to decide whether your work is perfect or it's done. And this is a great advice, I think.
Moment 5. Your favorite place on campus at the University of Stuttgart is?
The Pfaffenwald.
Moment 6. If I could start all over again, I would do the following differently.
Nothing. I think everything has a reason why it happened that way, and I'm quite happy where I am right now.
And moment 7. Please complete the sentence. For me, the best place at the University of Stuttgart is?
The transfer center, because there's still room for improvement, but you can feel the energy right now, and we're kind of startup. I'm quite lucky to work there.
Thank you. We have also felt the energy. Thank you for having met us today, and wishing you and your colleagues all the best for your future work concerning transfer in many directions, as we've just heard.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really fun talking to you, and I really enjoyed it a lot.
Thank you. And to our audience, please stay tuned for our upcoming conversations that are always based on what is made in science. My name is Wolfgang Holtkamp. Have a great podcasting day. Goodbye and good talking.